welcome back to Movie Review Mom. And if you're new here, I'm so glad you found me. A lot of people ask me how they can best support my channel, and there are several ways. First of all, subscribe, ring that little bell, and it'll notify you every time I upload a new video, which is almost every day because so many movies have been coming out, which is awesome. Also, join my Facebook group, which is called Movie Review Mom. And then finally, supporting me on Patreon is super helpful. So be sure and click down in the description below and it'll take you to the link. And that's where you can learn about all of the gifts that you receive. All right, enough of that talk. Let's get on with the review. Today, the movie I'm reviewing, Fatman. This movie opens today in theaters and it'll be on streaming soon enough. That's the great thing about COVID, if you can say anything is great about COVID, that movies are quickly adapting to online streaming devices after and sometimes simultaneously being in theaters. So anyway, the movie is rated R. It's an hour and 40 minutes. And the Movie Review Mom grade I'm giving it is a B+. And let me explain, because there are some things you need to know about before you watch this movie. I'll give you a quick overview, point out some tips for parents, and talk about themes. And then I'll explain all of the things I liked and didn't like about this movie, finishing up with some recommendations for you. All right, so first, in a nutshell, Mammoth Entertainment gifts us with this very dark yet insightful and often humorous Christmas movie starring Mel Gibson. The movie was co-written and co-directed by brothers Isham and In Nails. Now, you might not have seen a whole lot from them, but they're definitely going to grab attention with this movie. You don't normally see the words Santa and Hitman in the same sentence, but that's what this film does. I don't know that it'll ever be considered a true Christmas classic because, as I mentioned, it's very dark, but I think it's going to appeal to a lot of people. It's not great, it's not bad, but it's definitely different for a holiday tale. And for the small budget that they had, they deliver a very extremely effective movie that will definitely surprise audiences. You might even say that it's timed perfectly for 2020. Now, some tips for parents. This is an adult Christmas movie that is really not appropriate for kids. It's not Santa Claus singing, dancing, yay, elves, and that kind of thing. It's a very different take on Christmas. There's profanity, crude expressions, and several F-bombs. There's bloody violence with guns and hand-to-hand combat. There's a high body count. Smoking, alcohol, and even poison are demonstrated in the movie, and attempted murder. Now, the themes that are addressed in the movie are reliance on government and government interference, cynical society, morals, the Christmas spirit of love and giving, but again, from a very dark perspective, consequences of your actions. And really, there is a lot of strong commentary about a lot of different things in society. And as I mentioned, things that are happening today. For example, entitled kids, kindness among strangers, consequences, the definition of success, taxes, inspiration, and the hardworking families in America, and all that they need to do to put food on the table and a roof over our heads. All right, so some things that I liked. First of all, Mel Gibson. He has had many shining moments in his career, as well as a lot of terrible ones that made people cringe, things that he has said that he actually blames on his alcoholism. Whether he's a reformed man or not, it's hard to say. I've never met the guy, but he's still an incredibly talented actor and an incredibly talented director. Now, he didn't direct this film, but he's given me some of my all-time favorite movies, both through acting and directing. The Patriot, if you've never seen that, I love that movie. There's something for everybody. History, humor, romance, action, drama. Did I say humor? Anyway, I really, really like that movie. But the movies that he directed that won Academy Awards for several things are Braveheart, Hacksaw Ridge, Apocalypto, The Passion of the Christ. I mean, those were movies that got a lot of buzz. People loved them, hated them, and everything in between. So he certainly doesn't shy away from blood and gore. And as I mentioned, there's plenty of that in this movie. He definitely battles his own demons, but what a talented artist he is. Another talent in this movie is Walton Goggins, who always makes such a great villain. And actually, I saw that he's in like this romantic sitcom on Netflix, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to buy that because he makes for such a great villain, and he does in this movie as well. Marianne Jean-Baptiste plays Mrs. Claus, which was a really fun addition to the cast. And did you know that her husband in real life is actually a ballet dancer? Well, in this movie, she plays the wife of Santa. She's Mrs. Claus. And I love what she brings to the story. And I love that as an African-American actress, she was able to forgive Mel Gibson for some of the racist things that he has said, and that the two of them seem to work really well together. So I was thrilled to see her in this movie. Now, it's implied that the young boy in the movie, whose character's name is Billy Weenan, is based on the political pundit Ben Shapiro. And I have to admit that the young actor who plays him, Chance Hertzfeld, really does look like what a young Ben Shapiro might look like. However, I think that element of it doesn't really add anything to the story. There is some political jabs to the left and the right in this movie, to be sure. I think Ben Shapiro would be both flattered and insulted at the same time if he thought that this character really was based on him. Anyway, I love how Chris Kringle knows everything about everyone. I mean, all of the other characters. I mean, he's Santa Claus. There's one moment where he meets a government worker and he says, "You were a little touch and go there for a couple of years, weren't you, Carter?" And then another scene where he's in a bar and he says something to the bartender to protect the customer that just walked in because he knows them both so well. And I thought that that was really sweet, that Santa Claus isn't just about giving kids presents, but loving them and serving them throughout their whole lives. So I liked that addition to the story. I thought it was really interesting to watch the skinny man accumulate random items, wondering what he was going to do with them. Like, he has a hamster and he gets this toy airplane that he pays a lot of money for. And I won't tell you what happens with those things, but I just thought it was interesting. It kept me intrigued. And then you gotta love the ELF diet, carbohydrates and sugar. Toss in a 20-minute nap once every 8 hours, and you can keep working indefinitely. That's my kind of dream diet. The story, it takes place in modern day America with all of the trappings of a tough economy where everybody has to make ends meet. And Santa's factory is just kind of out in middle America. And these elves are, magical elves, but they kind of look like factory workers, but they are still elves. So they have a special diet. And anyway, I just thought it was such a fun juxtaposition of fantasy and reality. And so the world building in this movie is actually really clever. There's lots of dry, entertaining humor and conversations, and very well utilized musical score with touches of Christmas songs to kind of keep reminding you that this is a Christmas story. Now, there were some things that I didn't like. First of all, there's so many dark scenes, and I'm not talking about the humor, although there's a lot of that, but visually, there were a lot of dark scenes, which will make it really hard to see on small devices once it does go to streaming. So try to see it on the biggest screen that you can. And then I don't know why, it just took me a little while to get into the movie, and I was like, I'm not sure where this movie's going and what I think about this commentary. But by the end, I was sold and I was like, yes, I like this. And a sequel would actually be kind of fun and interesting. So I did enjoy it and I hope that you will too. But again, it's not for everyone's taste. And by the way, whenever I watch a movie, I always write down interesting lines, funny lines on my website. So go to moviereviewmom.com and you can see some of those. I'll share a couple of them with you right now. One is by Chris, played by Mel Gibson, and he says, all I have is a loathing for a world that's forgotten. The majority of the movie, he's really discouraged because people are not kind to each other. They have forgotten about Santa Claus and the magic of the season. And so that's when he makes that comment and he's talking to his wife. And she's always the optimist, such an inspiration to him, always gently pushing him forward. And I really liked their relationship. And I like how he's able to pull out of his funk as well. Because I know a lot of us during COVID have been in that similar funk. And then there's a government worker that visits the factory and he's looking at this diet that the elves are eating, which is all sugar and carbs. And he's like, that's crazy, that stuff will kill you. And they were like, no, that's how we get our energy. And then he's like, well, what about Chris? And then one of the elves says, it's the giving that keeps him young. And I thought that was so sweet because he's not young. You look at Mel Gibson, he's got the salt and pepper beard and he's definitely old, but that young at heart. I would have loved to have seen him, do a ho, ho, ho type of a jolly laugh. And you don't necessarily see that because it's a different kind of Santa Claus. Now, a lot of people are comparing this movie to another dark humored Christmas tale called Bad Santa. And I wouldn't compare them at all because in the one place, Bad Santa, it's not about the real Santa Claus. It's one of Santa's helpers. But in this movie, this really is Santa Claus. And so the humor is a little bit different, but if you like this movie, you'll probably like Bad Santa. It wasn't my favorite, actually. I don't like movies that glorify bad. And in this case, Santa Claus is not bad, but he has to do certain things to survive and carry on the Christmas legacy. And so I don't want to spoil anything for you, but I really did buy into this movie by the end. All right, that's it for my movie review. I hope that you enjoy this movie, and I've got another one coming out tomorrow. Until then, have a great day. Bye for now.